007 First Light is actually everything I wanted a Hitman game to be, or should I say how I wanted it to play. I like Hitman and I especially love it in VR. Also, knowing that First Light is built on a modified version of IOI's Glacier engine does give me hope for VR support in the future. That said, I've always personally struggled with Hitman's slow, methodical pacing. Whenever there's an opportunity to be violent, I'll find a way to take it, and I've always appreciated the openness of each mission. But aside from the clear IOI style art direction, that's where the similarities between Hitman and 007 First Light comes to an end. For today's video, I tested the game on both the base PS5 and PS5 Pro, and let me tell you right from the get-go, it is a night and day difference. Even though I'm usually happy to play on my base PS5 for my reviews, once I saw the Pro version, I couldn't go back. Both consoles appear to hold a steady 60 FPS, but the difference in image quality is pretty significant, so I stuck with the PS5 Pro for my entire playthrough. So onto my review, and arguably 007 First Light has one of the most strongest openings I've ever played in a video game. And for fans of James Bond games and movies who want unrealistic over-the-top action, massive explosions, impossible stunts with some romantic moments chucked in for good measure, First Light has all of this in its 12-14 hours campaign, at least on standard difficulty. I do have some negatives, but overall IOI has delivered an amazing Bond game, and probably their best game yet. While saying that, my nostalgia still holds GoldenEye from the N64 in a very special place. But First Light is truly a movie-like experience that was fantastic to play from beginning to end, with only a few speed bumps to speak of. Now, before I get into my full breakdown, I also learned that our man Luke Ross has already started work on a VR mod using Real VR. Much like any other game using Real VR, it won't give us full 6-DoF controls, but it should deliver some seriously over-the-top VR action in first person, and I think it's something we should all look forward to. But what makes this more than just a reskinned Hitman? After watching all the trailers and hype, I must admit I wasn't that interested in First Light. It seemed like an odd mix to me. The third-person perspective felt a bit jarring to see, and while the graphics and action do look great, they kind of reminded me of Naughty Dog's Uncharted, but I would argue that Uncharted still looks better than First Light, and that's pretty crazy to say considering the difference in time between the last Uncharted game and First Light. But while saying that, there's definitely plenty of moments that First Light does look gorgeous. We still have the sandbox levels with multiple choices. You can sabotage equipment, poison people to get them out of your way, pickpocket them, and use the environment in fights and in the boss encounters. For me, First Light is like Hitman minus the waiting around, and unlike Hitman, you can't just pull out a gun unless you're in a life or death situation, because this activates your license to kill. So you do lose some of Hitman's freedom while working for MI6, but in return you get more violence and a more directed, and some would say linear, gaming experience. This is the core change IOI has made for First Light. I've always preferred violence to stealth, and I could see the comparisons to even Batman or Spider-Man's combat in the way First Light is presented. And while the combat is good, it's not quite as satisfying when it comes to the combos or feeling like taking down a group of enemies. It's very easy to cheese the combat most of the time, and I say most of the time because there was some moments where two guys could randomly get the better of me, as if some random difficulty spike had occurred in the game in the background. But there was also plenty of other moments where I could just wade through 10 guys while surrounded by 20 who are all armed and come out on top, which obviously makes no sense. The enemy AI is genuinely good throughout the game, but sometimes it's just daft. For those of you who look for exploits, I've got no doubt you're going to find tons of them, and I certainly found some. There was one boss, for example, I could just run around in circles and he was completely unable to shoot me, or he can take multiple bullets or even shotgun shots straight to the head while charging at someone wearing only a shirt, and you'll still come out on top. In these moments, I did wonder if this game would be different on harder difficulty, but as I said, I played on standard, and there's actually an easier difficulty below this, which is the story difficulty, and I imagine that's even easier. But overall, standard was simply fun to play through. The 10 chapters are all varied with some massive environments, and this game has that movie-like flow. It has excellent graphics, voice acting, and mocap for the main characters, and the story is delivered with the help of some well-done cutscenes that include some quick-time events. Out of all the chapters, one was immensely boring. It felt like a story-building filler that could have been skipped entirely, but I really enjoyed all the others. And going back to the visuals, there are plenty of moments that will impress you, especially on PS5 Pro. The driving sequences are good, but the car handling isn't outstanding, but it's definitely good enough. And since it's a Bond game, you will get to drive a wide variety of vehicles, which is always fun. Throughout my playtime, I took my time. I read tons of notes, picked up as many things as I could because I wanted to learn more about the story and the characters, which is probably why my playtime might be longer than most other reviews. I was just really enjoying my time with the game. Combat feels satisfying thanks to the ability to slow down time. You can shoot guns out of the enemy's hands and then rush at them and smash their heads into the environment. And to be fair, this doesn't ever get boring. I also liked grabbing items like bricks to smash into their faces, and this reminded me of The Last of Us. But at the end of the day, this game is all about headshots, and I'm pleased to say they are satisfying too. Now onto the negatives. I've already touched on the AI being a bit weak and honestly stupid sometimes, and I also saw one or two minor graphical glitches. But I also encountered a bug that added about 30 minutes to my playtime. At a certain point in the game, I needed to upgrade my security clearance. I listened for intel and chose to be escorted by the security guard into the security office where I could upgrade my security clearance. Once there though, it didn't matter what I tried, I couldn't progress. So I then followed the second choice, which involved gathering more intel so I could break into security. But once again, I was met with nothing to do. And this was due to my threat level not being triggered by the game. If you have no threat level, you can't do anything meaningful. You can only mess around with items, pick things up, or chat and listen to people. But once again, and I don't mean to keep going on about Hitman, in Hitman you can literally do whatever you want whenever you want, and then deal with the repercussions after. But because the threat level never got triggered, I was completely stuck and I had to restart the whole chapter. This again highlights that while First Light looks similar to Hitman on the surface, the mechanics underneath are very different. So on to my summary. Overall, IOI has delivered what I believe to be an outstanding James Bond experience. It's not perfect, as I said. One level feels like it literally puts the brakes on any new ideas or progression in favour of adding more to a certain character's story, which was a bit of a shame, but I can't help but say I've had a fantastic time playing this. I can only hope that IOI brings this to VR in the future, because the way they handled the VR version of Hitman turned that game into one of my favourite experiences on PSVR 2 and PC. So yes, this gets an absolute buy recommendation from me. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and get subscribed, and I'll see you on the next one.